these guys are talking, oh, you could be an alpha. I guarantee if I ran some tests on you, you'd look like shit. Guarantee it. When I was in the best shape and the most motivated time of my life and I was doing great, my health sucked. It was awful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jacque Show. Y'all are in for a treat today because I've been stepping up my protocols and healing myself and diving back into my adrenals, recovering those, and I have more energy than I think I know what to do with. So if you are someone who is struggling with energy and you don't know where to find it, come find it, come test it, come treat it. Get those adrenals functioning again because you're gonna need it. Especially being a dad, we just had another stomach bug go through the family. So again, when we're like, oh my gosh, your kids get sick. Yeah, of course they do. They go to school and they're going to get all the germs that all these kids bring. And hopefully none of them are vaccinated and bringing the germ juice in there. But, you never know. Either way, our kids are resilient. They're back to normal. And daddy's having a cup of coffee with a little bit of lion's mane in it. So it's time to go. All right, so let's do this. So welcome to another episode. We're going to talk about something, again, go figure, controversial. Mainly because I'm being plugged right now on social media to join these things. And all these reels are starting to hit me and TikToks are starting to hit me. I'm like, who the hell is marketing to me right now? I'm tired of it. So my anti-campaign right now is the anti-get up and go, hustle, grind. Just keep pushing until you die. You can sleep when you rest. That's the bullshit that I'm talking about today. Okay? I see these guys who are like, oh, you just need to do this. You just need to do that. You need to wake up. You need to have purpose. Shut up. Just shut up. Okay? First off, okay, let's talk about the thought behind the thought. Okay? Is there some truth to, hey, you got to get up and go? Yes. I don't like laziness. I think that it's a symptom though, right? Laziness is a symptom. And can it be corrected by some people by yelling at them and telling them to get up and go and hustle and grind? Sure. But also, what if they're not trying to be lazy? What if they wake up in the morning and they feel like they got run over by a Mack truck? And you're like, get up and go work out. Then they go and work out. And then they're sore for a week. They have even less energy. Their adrenals are dipping even further. And you're like, just keep pushing. Eventually, you're done. Eventually, that person is going to quit. Why? Is it because they want to quit? No, it is because their body physically cannot keep up. And your words of aggressive affirmations, you need to do this, shut up with it, okay? If you want to motivate, there's plenty of ways to motivate people, but always find that thought behind the thought. If somebody's being lazy, why? Is it because they wake up exhausted? Is it because they've got kids at home and maybe she's breastfeeding throughout the night and not getting a lot of sleep and you're like, just get up and go work out? What do you think is going to happen? This is an uneducated person, okay? An uneducated person trying to give health advice without giving health advice. So it's an uneducated person giving health advice without giving health advice. You're like, just do it. No. What about if you were like, just test it? That would be cool. I would be cool with that. If you're like, hey, you're exhausted all the time and you used to look like this and now you look like this and now your bowel movements don't move and you're like, oh, just eat clean. We're like, but I'm addicted to this stuff over here. I can't figure out how to do this. And I'm emotionally eating over here because my adrenals are completely kaput. They're out. They're done. It's over. But yelling at somebody is not going to get them to have long-term results and long-term success. Not ever. And these people who are pushing this mindset, this method, okay, you can grind. Yes, you can. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy long nights, long hours, many, many, many years of dedication to a certain path, right? You can do it if you want to, but guess what? Your body is going to give up on you. Your body is going to give you red flags. And a lot of these people, if you probably looked at their health history, they're on some pretty significant doses of performance enhancers. They're on high levels of anabolics, growth hormone, testosterone. And they're like, I can do it, you can too. No, you are chemically altered to do so. And in doing so, you are forcing others to feel bad that they cannot keep up with you. This was a big thing, a big problem that I had with CrossFit, with the CrossFit movement when it came out. People were like, you can never worked out a day in your life. Come and do CrossFit. You'll lose 50 pounds. You look great. Right? They never thought about why these people weren't working out to begin with. Not only that, but most CrossFit coaches don't know how the hell to teach people how to lift anyways. They're too busy just posting stuff on Instagram. Anyways, when it comes to this mindset of all you need to do is pick your ass up and go, there are people, I work with people all of the time where they're like, I don't have the energy. I hear what you're telling me, but I can't physically move my body. If I do, it feels like my bones are breaking or muscle is getting ripped from my body. That's how it feels when I work out. And you're going to tell me to work out? And I would be an idiot as a clinician to say, yeah, you still have to work out. No way. I did a podcast on this. I've done multiple videos on this as well, where I talk about the different phases of adrenal stress, okay, or adrenal burnout, adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, whatever you want to call it. There's plenty of evidence behind it that if you do an abusive, high-intensity workout, you're getting your heart rate up, your body doesn't know the difference between that stress and getting attacked by a bear. It is still perceived the same way. The same hormones are still going to be produced. The same signals from the brain are still going to be produced to hit the adrenal glands to release more cortisol, right? And then eventually, you're going to be producing so much cortisol, your body's going to become inflamed from that cortisol being produced. That is then going to work to deactivate that cortisol into cortisone, which is anti-inflammatory, to try to put out the fire that workout is causing. And then you're telling that person, get up and go, do the same thing, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're dumb, you're stupid, stop it. Stop trying to give health advice. Stop trying to force people into doing something. Stop trying to, quote unquote, motivate people when you have no idea what is going on under the hood. And if you give advice like this, yeah, you might have 5, 10 really loud people that are like, oh yeah, I love this, good. But then what happens? What happens? The luster of it goes away. Just like we've seen tons and tons and tons of motivational speakers come and go. Where do they go? They can't keep up with it anymore. Why? Because they're traveling too much. They're not taking any time off. And then they're trying to figure out these biohacks, I think I'm going to do a whole podcast on biohacks next. But they're doing all these things to try to holistically symptom chase or symptom treat to get their bodies to continue to move. So they're like, oh, I'm creating inflammation, so I'm going to go do cryo. Well, cool. But then you're going to go damage your body again and then just treat it with cryo again. It doesn't make sense. Or I'm going to do some red light therapy. Cool. But then you're going to go poison your body with extra caffeine and the toxins from these hormones that you're taking, and you're going to damage your prostate, and then your gut is going to be a wreck because your adrenals are going to break your intestinal tract down to release amino acids. Oh, so you're going to take amino acids to try to replace it, but you're still being catabolic. Yeah. So they can't keep up. Neither can your average person. Neither can your above average person. Our bodies are designed for anabolic and catabolic cycles. When we break that rhythm where we're spending more time being catabolic than we are being anabolic, then we have a deficit. We have an extra breakdown in our body that's taking place, and our bodies cannot keep up. Okay? And only that person, and you can do some tests as well, but only that person can really tell based off symptoms, because symptoms will be very apparent, as to whether or not their body is able to keep up. Right? Think about, and again, I love this dude. I think he's brilliant. But Elon Musk, he works like 17-hour days, I think is what he was like quoted saying. 17-hour days. Now I know that there's some other things that he does in order to keep those long hours going, but how long, unless he knows some technology that we don't know about, some space stuff, but how long is his body going to keep up with that? 17 hours and you have a family? That's really difficult. That's very stressful. You could be conquering the world. You could be doing all of the amazing things that you're doing, but at some point your body's going to say, that's it. Okay. And it's not ever going to be at a convenient time. You're not gonna be like, hey, I'm going to take this year off. Right. And I'll wait next year. I'll take a year off and I'll just recover. Your body doesn't care. Your body doesn't go off your man-made time clock. It doesn't care. Okay. You can be productive and you can have lazy time as well. And I don't want to call it lazy time. We call it recovery time. You don't have to slay it in the gym 7 days a week to be healthy. You don't need to. Move your body for 30 minutes a day. It could just be walking down the street, going down to the mailbox if you have a really long driveway. Go get your mail. Go outside. Walk around your house. Don't just be a couch potato and sit on the couch. Work on getting your steps in. And that could be your 30 minutes of exercise if that's the level that you can tolerate. Now, there is a level where I'd say, okay, now you're just being lazy. Let's move it. But you have to first get to that first level. Go from inactive to running 50 miles a day. Obviously exaggerating. Not wise to do. Your body is incapable of doing it. Prime example, myself. I am a fan of hiking and walking predominantly for cardio and then sprints. I love my sprints. We hike pretty consistently because we've got all these mountains around us. We like to hike. We like to go and do that and be active. But I don't usually play softball in the off season. I don't. So I signed up for a softball league. I hadn't done any sprints in quite a long time. And then I went out, had a double header, played 2 hours worth of softball and was running. And my legs felt like my quads were just going to pop right off. Like, oh, crap. And then went back the next week, did the same thing, ended up buying some units to work because I pulled my quad, I think 2 weeks into it. How did that happen? I went from doing a certain style of working out, bodybuilding movements, anaerobic activity, to then using aerobic activity with my sprints. Okay, or anaerobic sprint. You know what I mean. Change the body movements. My body wasn't used to that. And my body responded as such. Now, if I were to continue and I was like, listen, well, now I'm going to play softball and have double headers every single day, 7 days a week, you would say, hey, you're crazy, right? Because my body's not used to it. So slowly increase the amount of time that you spend being active. If you're completely inactive, start by getting up and walking. Walk 30 minutes a day. If you start walking 30 minutes a day and all of a sudden you find yourself being able to walk 45 minutes to an hour, cool. Or you can still condense it down in 30 minutes because I know we're a busy society. Do 30 minutes of light jogging or jog and walking and see how your body recovers. Okay, walking uses similar muscles, still hip flexor movement and extension, but it's not as aggressive as a jog or a sprint would be. So if you step up from walking to then jogging, then your body has to acclimate to that. Give your body time to produce that lactic acid, catabolic, and then become anabolic to say, hey, muscles, you need to wake up. I know we haven't been used for a while, but this guy's doing this now, or this girl's doing this now. So now we have to be responsive to it. Okay. Then if you are able to do that and you're like, you know what? I want to get a gym membership, or maybe you have a gym membership and you don't go. I know somebody that does that who is currently speaking through the microphone. I have a gym membership. I don't go. I have a gym in my garage, and we'll be canceling that probably after my parents leave next week, just because I want to be able to bring them out to the gym so they can get a good workout in. We have the essentials in our gym. It's a great gym, but my dad loves his cable crossovers, and I don't have those, nor do I think I have the room for it, really. Anyways, then go into the gym. Start doing, if you're not sure how to do movements, get a personal trainer 2 days a week, 3 days a week. Okay. slowly start learning the weights, and you'll start seeing this change and this improvement start happening in your body, and your body will start naturally becoming more anabolic because it's realizing, hey, there's a supply and demand here. I'm breaking things down, which means I have a demand now to become anabolic. If your body is still stuck there, okay, then figure out, okay, listen, I'm trying to do this stuff. I haven't been able to recover as well. I don't have the motivation to go to the gym. Let's run an adrenal stress test on you. Let's run an adrenal test. See what your adrenals are doing, what your cortisol looks like, what your DHEA looks like, and see if we need to work on manipulating that a little bit to start pulsing your adrenals throughout the day to start giving you that energy and vitality again. Okay? That step just by itself is massive. It's one of the cheapest tests that we run as well, but it makes a huge, tremendous impact on your health. Why? When our adrenals are not functioning properly, okay, we know about adrenaline, so norepinephrine and epinephrine that are released, but we also release something called aldosterone. Okay, aldosterone is going to be responsible for what's going on in the kidneys, can have you hold on to extra water weight as well. It can cause edema, it can cause increase in urination. So people who are waking up at night and they're urinating throughout the night and they're having interrupted sleep, it could just be because you're stressed out and your cortisol is too high while you're sleeping and it's causing you to urinate. Could be a prostate issue as well, but again, testing would reveal that. So run an adrenal test. If that's the only thing you run, fantastic. Start there, okay? Start small. Then you start gaining momentum and you're like, okay, cool. I've got my adrenals back in play. They're starting to make energy again. I feel like I have energy all throughout the day, which is great, which is you have your normal circadian rhythms as you're going through the day. And then you're like, okay, now I've done that. I'm working out now 3 days a week, 5 days a week. I'm still walking 30 minutes a day. What else can I do? Okay, so starting to walk up those stairs of fitness success, if you will, right? So you go to that and you're like, okay, cool. So now maybe I want to drop an extra 20 pounds, or maybe I want to gain some weight. Well, how's your digestion doing? You work on the adrenals, get your body becoming more anabolic than catabolic. So your body is building muscle mass on, you're losing the fat. But then what are you doing when you are eating? Is your body capable of breaking down the food that you're eating? If not, then that good protein you're taking in, the good fats that you're taking in, or the good healthy starchy vegetables and carbs and stuff that you're taking in are not fully being digested in the body. You want to know what else is one of the fastest ways to throw off digestion and make sure that you don't absorb your nutrients? Doing what these guys are yelling at you to do on Instagram. Go, 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 go. And then you don't have time to eat, or you're so flippin' stressed out from the previous event that you try to go and you eat a meal and it just boom, runs right through. It's like, your body has all that fight or flight, all that energy and function is going out into your muscles, and it's not in your digestive tract. So you're not absorbing your nutrients. You're going to have some bloat. You're going to feel crappy. You have that bloat, then it's going to throw off your perception of stress. You're going to see another task that pops up on your phone, like, oh shoot, I have to do this now. And boom, all these alarms go off in your body. You're like, oh crap, now I have to do this. I have to do this. And I can't do this anymore. Boom, you give up. Has anybody been there? Have you been there before? This is what I'm talking about. So doing a step-by-step incremental approach to this is how you get good results, great results really, but more importantly, lasting results. We're working on establishing lifestyle changes, not fad changes. This lifestyle isn't designed to be like, listen, I want to make $1 billion by tomorrow. So I'm going to hustle my face off today to do it. And then I'm going to reach my goal and then that's it. Some people have that mentality, like, yeah, that's all I want to do. And then what? You reach that goal, you're goal oriented. Okay. A lot of people wrap up their self-worth and what they're able to accomplish and achieve versus what they have, which is a whole different thing. And they're like, okay, I made $1 billion. And then they're there and they're like, I'm not good at sitting still or being quiet. So I need to think of something else that I need to accomplish. There goes the stress again. And you become addicted to cortisol. You become addicted to stress. This happens in relationships too. People become addicted to stressful relationships, damaged relationships, toxic relationships. They love the feeling of that cortisol coursing through their body. It makes them feel powerful, or it makes them feel weak, which is still a level of significance that you'll feel from being the abusee versus the abuser. Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. I don't know all the facts on the case, but I mean, a lot of them are pretty apparent. But you can have those types of responses that take place in our body. And when we have that response in our body again can't tell the difference between a good stress and a bad stress. It can just tell there's stress. There's something that needs to happen for the brain to release, again, the cortisol, the catecholamines to be able to get released out into the body, norepinephrine, epinephrine, so your body makes a change, makes a move, okay? So we started with 30 minutes of movement, okay? Then we worked with 30 minutes of increased movement or more aggressive movements. Then we talked about lifting some weights. You don't have to get a gym membership. You can get, some weights. You can reach out to me and I'll get you in contact with the guy who gave me didn't give me, I bought my gym from him. I'm more than happy to give you his contact on that. But start using some actual weights. You can use soup cans if you want to, or don't use milk gallons because that would mean that you're drinking milk. But you can use distilled water gallons as weights. So that way you can start building up some muscular endurance, or just body weight exercises are super easy to do. You can Google it anywhere. You can YouTube it, or you can do some beach body workouts. It doesn't matter. Get your body moving. Okay. You do that a couple times a week. Then you slowly start to add in more times a week that you're doing it. And then you start getting more creative from there and you start running an adrenal test. After that's all good, then you get the stool test done and underway. Usually if you get movement, you get your diet under control, okay, avoiding inflammatory foods, dairy, corn, soy, sugars. I'm not even going to say processed sugars, but sugars, avoid that stuff. And what's going to happen is your body's going to start to flourish. And so we talk about the adrenals, we talked about the gut. Usually your hormones are going to be pretty darn good after you fix the two of those, okay? Because blood sugar dysregulation causes massive inflammation to the hormones and disruption of the hormones. If you're still having issues, we could talk about a little bit more deep into what else can be causing you to have the inability to work out. I've been there. But again, listening to these motivational people on the Insta or on TikTok, and they're just yelling and screaming the entire time to tell you to get up and move and stop being lazy, is not how you become successful. Okay. Again, think about 5, 10, 15 years. Where are those people going to be? Heart attack somewhere. They're massively overweight. They're blown out because their hormone protocol went off kilter. Their livers are bogged down. They become alcoholics because they're addicted to things. So they're addicted to stress. They're addicted to cortisol. They zap out their B vitamins with the alcoholism that they throw into the mix there. Maybe some other drugs, cocaine, etc., to get them to continue to move. And it's all about having the maximum amount of energy possible. And once you have that identity, your whole identity is wrapped up into being that yelling, screaming, high energy, crazy person. And when that starts to get removed for you, you now lose your identity. Then what happens? Who do you become? You're not your former self. You hate yourself. You have a zero self-worth. Well, you never had self-worth to begin with. You made people think that you did, but you don't. Okay? So if you start doing these things, you start chipping away here, and you start moving towards health and wellness and make this a journey instead of a rapid destination, then your body will really reward you for that. And there's different hacks and stuff that you can do along the way. Yes, you can use some biohacks and things to get there. Coffee enemas are a biohack. Angie Lee showed me that. I still have to make it a challenge, but the ice bowl challenge where you put your face in a bowl of ice. I got to get some ice to do that, and I'll record that. That's a little quick cryo thing. Taking hot, cold showers. There's things that you can do to help to push you along the way, but making sure you get to that underlying cause of why your body requires that to begin with is very important. It's very, very important. Okay. Now, what if you do all these things and you're like, man, doc, I still have zero motivation, zero energy. What could this possibly be? I can't figure out anything. I've got low testosterone in the sky. What's going on, right? So even if you start this protocol or you start this agenda, you start this journey, you're like, doc, I'm still so exhausted. I'm so zapped with energy. I don't have the ability to get up and go. I want to. Oh my gosh, I want to. I set the alarm every morning to get up and go exercise, but I can't get myself out of bed to go. Okay. What could it be? A lot of things. 2 in particular. Number 1 is one of the main pillars I work with, mold toxicity. Mold toxicity will zap your energy. It'll damage your HPA axis. Your adrenals just won't work anymore. And it has a tendency to crush your testosterone and cause rapid weight loss. Okay. So you'll wither away. And then when you do go to the gym, you're like, what the heck's the point of me going to the gym? I'm just going to lose 2 pounds by tomorrow. Like I can't keep any weight on. What in the world is going on? Mold toxicity is huge. So if you haven't been tested for mold, if you're like, you know what, I think I have mold in the house, but I'm not really sure. But these symptoms do kind of correspond with what I'm doing. At the very least, run a mycotox test on yourself. And we're in the process right now of working with a company where you can actually find a direct link to order specific mold testing from me on my Instagram. It's going to be freaking awesome. I'm so excited for it. Just had a call about it yesterday. Now it's a pilot program, so you have to bear with us, but super pumped to be one of the first docs to be able to allow that to be accessible to patients or people who are interested in testing. So excited. Okay. So start with mold. If you have a history where 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or even just last week, you got bit by a tick, Lyme's is another one too that can give you that lack of motivation, being lethargic as well, and just kind of being zapped overall. Those are the two main ones. Mold by far. I've seen mold activate previous Lyme, but mold, if you don't address it, I don't care how many times you listen to people yelling at you, you might have a solid week and then you go back to the laziness that you had before and you're like, I just can't move. I don't have the motivation. Or you're a parent. So, I mean this in a very loving manner, but if you're a parent and you're stressed out, a lot of times our day is not structured for ourselves. It's structured for other people. It's structured making other people happy before we are. So it's really important. And Meg and I, we talked about this, and I've gotten into this gap as well, where I'm like, I don't have time to work out, I work 16 hours a week. There's really no excuse for me not to work out. It was either I was pouring more time and energy into my business, pouring more time and energy into my relationship with her, or pouring more time and energy into my kids. Basically poured out my cup for everybody but myself. Until I look at myself, I'm like, man, like I look good, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, man, I used to have this, or I used to have a little bit more right here. Like, what's going on? Well, I got to get back into the gym. So you carve out your time, you structure your day in order to allow yourself to have some you time. And again, in the beginning, it's just a half hour. You just need a half hour a day. If you've got kids, go for a walk with the kids. If you've got kids and you've got a gym at home, bring them into the gym, have them watch you work out, set that good example for them. Or if you have a gym that has a daycare in it, then you have no excuse. Bring them to the daycare, let them get all the germs in the world while you go and work out and come home, and you're good to go. So there's different variations to this, but the primary thing is if you do not schedule it in on your day on a daily basis, it will not get done. I promise you. It's just like dinner and not knowing what's for dinner. You're more than likely going to get hit with an Uber Eats reminder, say, hey, you can get 10% off your next order if you order from Subway. And you're like, it's just so easy. It's the path of least resistance. And boom, I'll start tomorrow, right? It's like the New Year's resolution. I'll start tomorrow. It just keeps pushing it back. So there's a level of this where it's like, there's one point where you're like, okay, this motivational thing might be strong enough to be like, oh, crap. Like I do want to get up. I do want to start moving. I do want to start exercising. I just don't have the energy. And if that's the catalyst to say, you know what, maybe I need to run some more tests. Maybe I need to figure out, God, don't go to your medical doctor. They will not know what the hell to do. But if you're like, I need to figure this out, maybe if I should just run this adrenal test, then do it. Then run an adrenal panel and figure out what's going on. Work on the protocols. Adrenal protocols are really easy to do. You work on an anti-inflammatory diet. You get your adrenals to pulse throughout the day, depending on what your adrenals look like. And boom, in a week or so, you start feeling like $1 million. Now, it doesn't mean the results stay quite yet. It takes some time, depending on how bad your adrenals are damaged and how toxic your lifestyle is. But you start getting the ball rolling. So you're like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to be normal. I had a patient yesterday, I believe it. Well, I'll just say we had a patient the other day. Keep it simple and not as specific. And she was like, you know what? I'm able to get more things done. And she brought up a very specific example of it, but I beat her to it. I'm like, yeah. It's like one of those things where you're walking through the house and you see this pile of laundry laying on the floor and you're like, I need to put that in a hamper. I need to fold that and put that away. And you're like, I'll get it later. And you just walk past it. Versus if you have the energy, you're like, you know what? I'm going to look at this like an opportunity. I can crush this in like 2 minutes. Let's see what I go. Boom. And boom, it's done in 2 minutes. Put away. And you're like, yes, task completed. Versus the laundry pile continuing to build and build and build. And this is something I fell victim to too. Trust me, I hate putting laundry away, but I can bang it out in 2 minutes and make it a competition. It's done. But when your adrenals are working better, you're less intimidated by a new stress in your life. You're able to rise to the challenge because you know that your body is capable of it. Versus even if there's a threat of a schedule change and you're like, now I have to change my day and I don't know what's going to happen. And I think I need to do this and this and this and this. And you're like, and then you go into that emotional hamster wheel where you start creating your own stress. And then that stress creates more stress that you don't even feel in your heart is really going to happen, but it's still a stress of a possibility of something can happen. Like, oh, I could do that and I could lose my leg, and then my head could explode. And then maybe if I get in the car, I could probably get in a car accident, and just hamster wheel, break the hamster wheel. Okay. So there are ways to approach this laziness, if you will, but usually it's going to be coming from more of a clinical type issue. Now, if you're just born and raised couch potato and you're like, I don't feel like moving, I don't feel like getting up and going, you're more than likely not listening to these things anyways. We're talking to people who are maybe former athletes who are like, hey, you know what? I don't feel like working out anymore. Well, you push your body so hard, your adrenals broke. It happens all the time. I work with a lot of athletes like that. Or maybe you're in the corporate world or you're owning your own business and you're like, I don't have time for it. I'm working all the time. I'm just go all the time. And I've only got 2 hours in a day to spend with my family. There's a certain person in, not my industry, but in an industry that'll just say, oh, well, I'm 100% present when I'm with my family. I don't have my phone with me, et cetera. I'm like, you're lying sack of crap. I know that you're not. I despise entrepreneurs that don't spend time with their family. So getting that mindset right. Okay. And it can be like the New Year's resolution mindset. We're like, okay, I need to make a change. Okay. It could be like, hey, for myself, I got in trouble on TikTok for this because I was like, a woman needs to do this for herself. Well, men have to do it for themselves too. They can't do it to impress a woman. They can't do it to impress their wife, because more often than not, if you're working on yourself, your wife, quite honestly, is probably distracted with 100 different things, keeping the house alive, keeping your business afloat. Trust me, I know from experience, I can look as great as possible, but if Megan had a hard day with the kids, not going to be noticing it. And it's not anything to me. It's not anything against her. It's that I know what the stress load was for the day. So you have to nourish that. And I would never say, you know what you need to do at the end of this really, really hard day? You need to suck it up and you need to get your ass in the gym. You need to listen to this motivational thing, and he needs to yell at you to get up and move. Do you think that would go over well? Megan, if you're listening, do you think that would go over well? No. Again, it's laughable when we think about that example, but think about that. The same exact thing's happening. If you've been mentally abused all night long by horrible dreams or lack of sleep or getting up constantly or having to breastfeed your kid, or your kids are waking up or your kids are sick, and I'm like, get up and go to the gym anyways. What? That's laughable. That's ridiculous. And I don't care. I don't care what these guys have to say. I'm in this for lifestyle overhauls. I'm in this for longevity. I'm in this for myself. But the longevity piece is so that I don't just look good, feel good for 10, 15 years and I hit my 50s, 60s, going into my 70s. I'm like, I looked good back then. I'm lazy. No, this is a preservable lifestyle change. Remembering health is not how you look or how you feel. But if you look bad, if you look toxic and you feel toxic and you have symptoms, then you are not healthy. Okay? Even if you're on medications and you had those symptoms, you're on medications now, and you're like, I'm healthy, I don't have those symptoms. Wrong. Your body's probably worse off than when you had not been on those medications. So I don't want everybody out there being like, oh my gosh, well, health is how you look or how you feel. No, health is 100% function of your organs functioning 100% of the time. Okay, that's where these tests come into play. That's where the adrenals come into play. Okay, that's where your gut comes into play, your heart. Everything comes into play. Get it specifically tested. Find if there's any chinks in your armor. Find if there's any holes in your armor or any stone that has not been turned over. Make sure that you do that. Find any and all flaws, especially if you're going to be embarking on this journey. Because here's the other thing too. Say you have mold toxicity. One of the things with mold toxicity is it flies under the radar. Same thing with H. pylori. Flies under the radar for a long period of time. And then a stressful event can activate these infections or these toxicities. We see H. pylori causes 80% of stomach ulcer cases. Well, they were like, oh my gosh, stress causes ulcers. No, stress causes H. pylori to get stronger and then cause ulcerations, right? And you can have subclinical manifestations of these diseases, not even know it, and then boom, your body starts exhibiting ulceration symptoms, bloat, heartburn, indigestion. You're like, oh, maybe it's just this new diet's too hard for me. It's not good for me. Well, if your body's inflamed and you went full tilt and caused massive stress to your body, that can express itself. Mold toxicity, same way. We see a lot of times women will be exposed with mold when they're younger, and they'll live, a relatively stress-free life, and then they'll give birth. And birth is a very stressful event. It's a beautiful event, but it's stressful. We have to recognize it as such, especially if you give birth in a hospital. So then what happens is that stress response, boom, unlocks those mycotoxins in your body. And all of a sudden you start getting all of these symptoms. And you're like, where did these come from? And then people are like, you just need to work out. You just need to do this. You need to stop being lazy. You need to eat healthy. You need to do that. Watch yourself. You need to be fully analyzed. If you're like, man, I was great before I had kids, find out why you're not so great now. Is it just basic lack of sleep? Is it you are eating bad things during the day and you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't stop eating bad things? Well, these guys yelling at you, just put it down, just figure it out, put it down. Or what I said to my buddy Danny, he's like, put that cookie down. I used to respect Arnold, not so much anymore. Yes, in theory, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. But why are you craving that cookie to begin with? Do you have candida? You have yeast overgrowth in your gut? Do you have some sort of bacterial overgrowth that's craving sugar? Or is it also linked in with your stress response where your body cannot handle your blood sugar? And you have blood sugar dysregulation. You can have insulin resistance that starts taking place. And so your body, based off that stress response, is like, I need more sugar. I need more sugar. I need more sugar. I need more sugar. And you're like, well, I'm going to deprive you of sugar. And your body's like, but wait, I need more. What's going on? I don't know. You're cutting off the source and your adrenals are like, I can't function. And you just, boom, you're down and out. Remember, what is the thought behind the thought? What is the cause behind the why? What is the cause behind the effect? What is the cause behind the symptom? You figure that out, and that's where you reach that alpha level. That's where you reach what these guys are talking. Oh, you could be an alpha. I guarantee if I ran some tests on you, you'd look like shit. Guarantee it. And I'm saying that very, very, very confidently because I can tell you when I was in the best shape and the most motivated time of my life and I was doing great, my health sucked. It was awful. I had IBD symptoms. I had mucus coming out in my stool. I had zero energy. I had zero sex drive. My brain was not functioning like at all, but I looked fantastic. So you're telling me, okay, and I was in the health world. I was bodybuilding. Like I was doing, quote unquote, what these guys are yelling at you to do. Working out 2 hours a day, going and doing cardio for an hour a day, eating perfect calories and doing this and doing that. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing awesome. And then boom, body was like, don't think so, bro. You're going to take a little mini coma and I'm going to zap all of your energy and ruin everything in your life. Right? I was lucky enough to recognize what was going on in my body because I had this issue where I'm like, I want to be perfect or as close to perfect as possible. So I started finding holes in my armor. I'm like, okay, I can improve this. What's going on with my gut? Let's figure this out. Ran a foods test, ran a stool test, ran a hormone test, ran this, ran that. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just keep peeling back these layers until I become the person I ultimately am today. And that's the protocols that we use. Again, it's designed for my own trials and tribulations, but the thousands of patients that I've worked with over the years, this is textbook. This is the 101. This is where you need to start, especially if you're going to be embarking on a stressful journey. Make sure your health is there before you try to change things and go drastically, stressfully in another direction because your body is going to be prone to breaking down. So next time you see one of those motivational things yelling at you to get out there and do it and crush it and whatever, move on, scroll past. Or I don't even know if you can do it anymore, but if you can say, show less of this, I know you can do that on Facebook, but if you just say, hey, hide ads like this, get it the hell out of the way. Okay. Unless it's just going to wake you up and be like, you know what? I wish I had energy like that. Let's start running some tests. Let's go talk with Dr. Jacque about this or somebody else that I work with or coach. Cool. That's fantastic. But make sure that your body is good to go. Okay. If you're on medications, your body is not ready for an increase in stress. If you're on medications, your body is not ready for an increase in stress. That's one telltale sign. If you have to drink 48 cups of coffee a day to stay awake, your body is not ready for an increase in stress. If your body is sore for 6 weeks after you work out for one day, you can't move, your body is not ready for that increase in stress. Just some basic stuff here to analyze, without even running any tests. That's just a physicality test. What does your body do just on a daily basis? If your brain function is not great, if your sleep's not great, guys, it's good to change the diet. Sure, start eliminating some of those inflammatory foods. Don't eat anything 3 hours prior to bed except drinking water or maybe some tea. Cool. Great little hacks there to get your body to be functioning pretty well. But then if you start, again, if you can't wake up and you're like, I'm so tired, I don't know what to do, and I have no motivation, don't cause a stressful event in your life, or it could be the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'm going to end on this. Hopefully this is probably going to enrage some people. I say that probably in every single one of my podcasts, but I want to say this from a place of love, not from a place of hate. Now there are some things I did say that I hate in there, and I'm going to stand by those. But when it comes to people embarking on these journeys, this is one of the reasons why so many people struggle to find success when it comes to their health, is they feel so much pressure. Count your macros. You can't eat this. You can't do that. You can't do that. There's so many restrictions and limitations, and it's okay to have restrictions and limitations if there's an explanation that follows behind it. What is the why? Don't eat dairy. Why? Because if you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to reduce inflammation in the body, and you're trying to work with your hormones, and you're trying to have energy, and you're trying to have proper digestive function, eliminate it. If you eat it, it will throw it off and you'll feel that. Okay, what about gluten? Gluten damages the body. Okay, what else does it do? Lower stomach acid concentration can cause infertility, can cause issue with hormones, can cause headaches, can cause digestive issues, bloating, can cause constipation, can cause gassiness. There's a whole host of these things. So it's like, well, instead of just being a parent and saying, because I said so, figure out why. And if the person still chooses to do it anyways, then that's their own health journey. It's not my health journey, but it's important to properly educate the restrictions. If you do not properly educate the restrictions, then people aren't going to have that strong follow-up, that strong why. Or if they do it, they'll come back to you and be like, Doc, I have all these headaches and I don't know what the heck's going on. And I'm like, well, did you eat dairy? And I'm like, well, yeah, I had some cheese yesterday. I'm like, there's your culprit right there. If you didn't properly educate them prior, they're going to come to you like that. Or they're going to say your program didn't work, or this didn't work for me. I gained weight. Well, you increase inflammation. Inflammation holds water weight. So you can gain 5 pounds overnight if you had some cheese before bed just because you were craving some cheese. So there is a lot. You probably will have to listen to this podcast again. I try to keep it as short as possible, but I went off on a bunch of tangents. So we're at one of my longer ones, about 45 minutes or so. But again, I think it's really vital, especially because we're in May now. We're going to be going into June, July, obviously, the months. And people are going to be trying to do these things. They're doing these detoxes, they're doing these cleanses, they're doing these rush rapid diets. And they may look good for the summer, but what happens come fall, winter? You just gain it right back, and you have to do the same thing. And your body's like, I don't know what to do. You want to be skinny, then you get fat. Then you want to be skinny, then you want to get fat. I don't know. Tell me what to do and just channel that and be normal with it. It's normal to have a little bit of increased adipose tissue or fat tissue during the winter if you're in colder climates, because it's just an adaptive epigenetic change, causes you to gain a little extra weight. You crave certain foods in the wintertime to keep you warm, to keep you more full, to keep you having more fat on you. But then when the summer comes, then you should be able to shed some of that down. But I'm not talking about 20, 30 pound swings, guys. I'm talking about maybe like 5 pounds. Okay. So if you're looking to start this journey, you're like, I want to be healthy. These guys are yelling at me too on Instagram and just speaking volumes to you. Make sure that you're doing it properly so that way your body doesn't fall apart. And if you're already an exceptional person, you're like, I'm doing fantastic. Well, did you run any tests yet? Did you? Because if you didn't, I'll be here when you fall apart. That's it. So I'm going to end with that. Thank you for tuning in. If you loved it, would love a 5-star review, a little written message on there saying, yeah, this message really spoke to me today. And I'll be very happy to hear that.